Forget what you know about the American Civil War. This wasn't just a battle between North and South or even brother against brother. Beneath the well-known stories lies a shadowy world of secrets, buried for over a century. Mysterious deaths, lost treasures, secret societies, and covert missions. These are the untold tales that history left behind. Join us as we uncover the hidden side of the Civil War, where the truth is stranger than fiction. These are the dark secrets that have remained hidden for over a century. In the twilight of the Confederacy, as Union forces tightened their grip on the South, desperation bred innovation. Enter the H.L. Hunley, a vessel that would make history as the first combat submarine to sink an enemy ship. But the Hunley was more than just a weapon. It was a symbol of hope, a last-ditch effort to turn the tide of war. The Hunley was a marvel of engineering for its time, a 40-foot-long, cigar-shaped submarine powered by a crew of 8 men who turned a hand crank to propel the vessel. But this innovation came with a high cost. The Hunley sank twice during testing, killing several crew members, including its inventor, Horace Hunley. On the night of February 17, 1864, the Hunley set out on a mission to break the Union blockade by attacking the USS Housatonic. The submarine successfully deployed its spar torpedo, sinking the Union warship. But the Hunley never returned. For over a century, the fate of the submarine and its crew remained a mystery, until it was finally discovered off the coast of Charleston in 1995. Even after its discovery, the Hunley continues to pose questions. Why did it sink after completing its mission? Was it the shockwave from the explosion or something more sinister? The mystery of the Hunley adds a layer of intrigue to the already complex story of the Civil War. General Thomas Stonewall Jackson was a legend in his own time, a brilliant tactician and one of the most revered commanders of the Confederacy. But his death was as enigmatic as his life, sparking rumors and conspiracy theories that endure to this day. On May 2, 1863, during the Battle of Chancellorsville, Jackson led a daring flanking maneuver that crushed the Union right wing. But as night fell, tragedy struck. Returning from a scouting mission, Jackson and his staff were mistakenly fired upon by Confederate pickets. Jackson was hit 3 times and was taken to a field hospital where his left arm was amputated. Despite initial signs of recovery, Jackson's condition deteriorated, and he died 8 days later on May 10, 1863. The official cause of death was pneumonia, but questions lingered. Some speculated that Jackson's death was the result of medical incompetence, while others suggested foul play, perhaps by a jealous subordinate who sought to remove a rival. The true nature of Jackson's death remains one of the great mysteries of the Civil War. As the Confederacy crumbled in the final days of the war, a mysterious treasure vanished. Confederate gold, rumored to be worth millions, disappeared without a trace. The legend of the lost Confederate gold has fueled countless treasure hunts and conspiracy theories, but the truth remains elusive. By 1865, the Confederate treasury was in dire straits. With Union forces closing in, Confederate leaders scrambled to secure their remaining assets. According to some accounts, a large shipment of gold and silver was sent from Richmond, Virginia to Georgia, where it was intended to fund a last-ditch effort to continue the war. But the treasure never reached its destination. Some believe the gold was buried in a secret location in Georgia, while others speculate it was hidden in the Great Lakes or even smuggled out of the country. The truth behind the Confederate gold remains one of the most enduring mysteries of the Civil War, a tantalizing puzzle that continues to capture the imagination of historians and treasure hunters alike. Harriet Tubman is best known as a conductor on the Underground Railroad, leading hundreds of enslaved people to freedom. But her contributions to the Union cause went far beyond her work as an abolitionist. During the Civil War, Tubman became a Union spy, a scout, and even a nurse, playing a crucial role in the Union's victory. In 1863, Tubman was recruited by Union forces to lead a covert operation in South Carolina. Using her extensive knowledge of the terrain and her connections within the enslaved community, Tubman gathered intelligence that helped the Union plan successful raids against Confederate forces. In one such raid, Tubman led Union troops up the Combahee River, where they destroyed Confederate supplies and freed over 700 enslaved people. Tubman's contributions didn't stop there. She also served as a nurse, caring for wounded soldiers and using her knowledge of herbal medicine to treat illnesses that traditional doctors couldn't cure. Harriet Tubman's work during the Civil War is a testament to her bravery and dedication, a story that has remained largely untold until now. In the spring of 1864, Union Colonel Ulrich Dahlgren led a daring raid on the Confederate capital of Richmond. But what began as a mission to free Union prisoners ended in disaster and controversy, with the discovery of secret orders that suggested a far more sinister objective. Dahlgren's raid was a bold plan to strike at the heart of the Confederacy, but as the mission unfolded, things quickly went awry. Confederate forces ambushed Dahlgren's men, and the colonel himself was killed in the skirmish. When Confederate soldiers searched Dahlgren's body, they found documents that shocked the South, papers that outlined a plan to assassinate Confederate President Jefferson Davis and his cabinet. The discovery of these papers set off a firestorm of controversy. Southern leaders decried the Union's tactics as barbaric, while Northern officials denied any involvement in the plot. To this day, historians debate the authenticity of the documents. Were they genuine, or were they forged by the Confederacy to discredit the Union? The Dahlgren affair remains one of the Civil War's most intriguing unsolved mysteries. On April 4, 1865, just days after the Confederate capital of Richmond fell to Union forces, President Abraham Lincoln made a surprise visit to the city. His arrival was unannounced, and the scene that greeted him was one of devastation. A city in flames, its people in despair. But Lincoln's visit was more than just a symbolic gesture. It was a secret mission with profound implications for the future of the reunited nation. Lincoln's journey through Richmond was nothing short of extraordinary. Without the fanfare or security detail that would typically accompany a presidential visit, Lincoln walked through the city's streets, met with its residents, and even entered the Confederate White House. As he moved through the city, African Americans, newly freed by the Union's victory, flocked to him, hailing him as their liberator. In a powerful moment, Lincoln sat at the desk of Confederate President Jefferson Davis, who had fled the city just days before. The symbolism of the Union president sitting where the leader of the Confederacy once ruled was not lost on anyone who witnessed it. But Lincoln's visit was not merely symbolic. It was also a mission to understand the depth of the destruction and the challenges that lay ahead in rebuilding the nation. During his visit, Lincoln met with Union officers and discussed the future of the South. His observations of Richmond's devastation reinforced his belief that the nation needed a lenient approach to reconstruction, one that would heal the wounds of war rather than deepen them. Lincoln's visit to Richmond remains a little-known but significant event, one that highlighted his vision for a reconciled and united America. While the Civil War raged on the battlefields, another war was being fought in the shadows, a war waged by secret societies like the Knights of the Golden Circle. This clandestine group had grand ambitions to create a new empire that stretched from the southern United States through Mexico and Central America. The Knights of the Golden Circle were founded in the 1850s by George W.L. Bickley, a Cincinnati doctor with grandiose ideas. The organization's goal was to establish a golden circle of slaveholding territories, with its capital in Havana, Cuba. The Knights recruited members from all walks of Southern society, including politicians, military officers, and wealthy planters. They were involved in efforts to incite revolts in Union states, sabotage Union efforts, and provide intelligence to Confederate leaders. Throughout the Civil War, the Knights of the Golden Circle engaged in various covert activities. They plotted to overthrow state governments in the North, disrupt Union supply lines, and even kidnap prominent Union leaders. The extent of their influence remains debated, but their existence highlights the complex web of espionage, conspiracy, and intrigue that underpinned the Civil War. After the war, the Knights of the Golden Circle faded into obscurity, but their legacy lived on. Some members are believed to have gone on to join other secret organizations, such as the Ku Klux Klan, and their influence can still be seen in the myths and legends of hidden Confederate gold. The Knights of the Golden Circle remain a shadowy and little-known chapter of Civil War history. Of all the horrors of the Civil War, few were as notorious as Andersonville Prison, a Confederate camp in Georgia where thousands of Union soldiers suffered and died. The name Andersonville has become synonymous with suffering, but within its barbed wire confines, there are stories of resistance, escape attempts, and secret efforts to survive. Built to hold 10,000 prisoners, Andersonville eventually became home to more than 30,000 Union soldiers. The conditions were appalling. Prisoners lived in crude shelters known as shebangs, suffered from malnutrition, and were plagued by disease. In this hellish environment, death was a constant companion. Over 13,000 men perished at Andersonville, making it one of the deadliest prison camps of the war. But amid the despair, there were also stories of hope and defiance. Prisoners at Andersonville made several attempts to escape, often by digging tunnels beneath the camp's walls. These tunnels were dug in secret, using makeshift tools and hidden from the guards' view. Most of these attempts were unsuccessful, as the guards quickly discovered the tunnels or the prisoners were caught soon after escaping. However, the sheer determination of the men who attempted these daring escapes speaks to the human spirit's resilience, even in the darkest of times. After the war, the horrors of Andersonville came to light during the trial of Captain Henry Wirtz, the camp's commandant. Wirtz was charged with war crimes for his role in the deaths of thousands of Union prisoners. The trial revealed the full extent of the suffering at Andersonville, and Wirtz was found guilty and hanged in November 1865. But even as justice was served, many questions remained. Why were conditions allowed to deteriorate so badly, and what secrets were buried along with the men who died there? The story of Andersonville is a grim reminder of the human cost of war and the secrets that still linger in its shadow. In the world of espionage, few figures were as daring or as controversial as Belle Boyd. Known as the Cleopatra of the Secession, Boyd used her charm, wit, and courage to gather intelligence for the Confederacy, risking her life to serve the Southern cause. Belle Boyd was born into a wealthy Virginia family and was just 17 years old when the Civil War began. Her first act of defiance came when she shot and killed a Union soldier who had insulted her mother. This bold act brought her to the attention of Confederate leaders, and she soon became a spy, using her connections to gather valuable information from Union officers stationed in her hometown of Martinsburg. Boyd's espionage activities were as audacious as they were effective. She flirted with Union officers, attended their parties, and used her charm to extract military secrets, which she then relayed to Confederate commanders. Her intelligence was instrumental in several Confederate victories, including the Battle of Front Royal in 1862, where her information helped General Stonewall Jackson outmaneuver Union forces. Boyd's activities did not go unnoticed by Union authorities. She was arrested multiple times and even imprisoned, but each time she managed to secure her release. Her luck ran out in 1864 when she was captured and exiled to England. Despite her exile, Boyd remained a symbol of Confederate defiance, and her story has become the stuff of legend. The Siege of Petersburg was one of the final and most brutal campaigns of the Civil War, a grueling 10-month standoff that tested the resolve of both the Union and Confederate armies. But within this siege lies one of the war's most dramatic and controversial episodes, the Battle of the Crater, a failed Union attempt to break the Confederate lines using a secret weapon with devastating potential. In the summer of 1864, Union engineers devised a bold plan to end the siege. They dug a 511-foot tunnel beneath the Confederate lines and packed it with 8,000 pounds of gunpowder. The explosion, which occurred on July 30th, created a massive crater, 170 feet long, 60 feet wide, and 30 feet deep. The blast killed hundreds of Confederate soldiers instantly and opened a gap in their defenses. But what followed was a disastrous and poorly coordinated assault that turned a potential Union victory into a tragic failure. Instead of exploiting the breach, Union troops charged directly into the crater, where they became trapped in the massive pit. Confederate forces quickly regrouped and launched a counterattack, turning the crater into a death trap. Union soldiers, many of them African-American troops from the United States Colored Troops, USCT, were cut down by Confederate fire. The battle, which could have been a decisive Union victory, ended in a humiliating defeat with over 3,700 Union casualties. The crater stands as a stark reminder of the unpredictability of war and the thin line between victory and defeat. The American Civil War was more than just a conflict between North and South. It was a clash of ideologies, cultures, and secrets. Beneath the well-known battles and famous figures, there are hidden stories and covert operations. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more fascinating insights into history's hidden secrets.